Determined Striker Super Saiyan Blue Son Goku. Counter attack. Play this card and negate the attack. Permanent. When activating this card's counter, if you have 3 or less life, you may place 2 Saiyan from your hand into the drop area. If you do, reduce the energy cost of this card by 3 for the duration of turn. Pretty solid card. My thing is, again, it's kind of conditional. Again, you have to have 3 or less life, first of all. So if you have it early, it doesn't really do much. And then you have to place 2 Saiyans from your hand to the drop area. So it's cool that it helps Vegeta triggers ability, but I figured if you had 3 or less life, it should be triggering anyway, just because of the duration of the game. It's cool that it's another negate for 1, potentially, but again, it's at the cost of 2 cards. Again, it's cool that it's also searchable by Kind Saiyan Son Goku. I think that's probably one of the biggest sells, just because it's a negate that's searchable. So it's, again, it's something that I wouldn't play max of 4 of, because you either have to pay 4 or lose 2 cards. So unless we have like some cards that say when this card is counted as Saiyan, but otherwise I wouldn't be playing 4 of this card. Even though it's cool that it's another negate, I probably maybe play 2, just because it's also searchable if you need it. Next up, we have Mighty Attack Son Goku. It's a 3-drop that has critical. It's basically a Saiyan Vegeta clone, nothing too crazy. Then again, critical is nothing to obviously scoff at or take lightly, but it's nothing that we haven't seen before, so it's just searchable by Kind Saiyan Son Goku, helps fuel Vegeta, things like that. Next, we have Raging Spirit Son Gohan. At the end of battle, after you combo with this card from your hand, if your leader card is blue, play this card in rest mode. Very powerful card, very powerful. It's good because you can play it turn 1. It's also really good because if you're playing Trunks, you can draw a card. So I feel like Trunks is definitely going to be a leader, one of the top leaders in the game. But again, we still have to see all the other leaders to even make that judgment, but just going by what we have so far. I just like it because, you're dropping a 15k turn 1 really early, and then you can really bring that aggro and that pressure on to your opponent. I do like how his combo cost is 10,000, just because he has such a good effect as he comes in for free. So being able, it comes in for free, but obviously at the cost of 1, so it has its merits and stuff like that. But overall, I think it's just a really strong card, really strong. Next up, we have Vegeta, the Proud Father. Auto, when you play this card with Trunks Future Skill, choose up to 1 your opponent battle card and KO that card. Again, great future Trunks support. It's really good because Trunks, I feel, can be a very aggro leader if you play it that way. And it's good because you can draw a card off of the Trunks, as well as being able to kill your opponent's battle cards. So you can play Goten to blow up your opponent's little cards, and then you can use the Vegeta Proud Father when your opponent tries to play a bigger threat to kind of stabilize the game state, and then you can just pop it with that. So going to be awesome card for sure. And it's cool because overall, just being able to pop a card for free and draw a card, so much value. Next up, Trunks, Creator of the Future. Activate main, place this card on the bottom of your deck. Choose 1 blue Son Goku or Vegeta with an energy cost 3 or less, and from your hand, and play it. Overall, solid card. You can attack with the Trunks, put it at the bottom, search for, play a Goku from your hand or Vegeta from your hand, 3 or less. Really good optimization utility when building decks. Now it's building decks not only just on certain characters, but even certain energy costs. So you want to make sure you even have the right ratio and numbers. So if your hand's all filled up with 4 or higher, you don't get the most value of this card. So you also want to make sure that it is, 3 or lower. You can do some really cool things like this. Attack with this, put it at the bottom, get Kind Saiyan Son Goku search, or play like a Saiyan Vegeta, or something else to that effect. So a lot of good utility, and it's cool because you can run this engine with the with the Vegeta Proud Father we were just talking about earlier, because you can pretty much play that from your hand and combo or do some other shenanigans. I just like it overall. It has a lot of potential. Next up, we have Unyielding Spirit Trunks. Auto during your turn when you combo with this card. If your leader is blue, choose up to 1 of your energy and switch to active mode. Good overall card. Good again because with Trunks, when you combo with this card, you draw it and you choose energy, switch it to active mode. So even though your leader has to be blue, it's cool because if you're playing like a dual colored deck, it switches any energy to active mode. So offers that utility again if you're playing dual color, if you have to have a certain color open for a certain negate or certain line of play, allows you to do that. So I think it's really cool to see maybe like the Goku that can attack twice, and you mix it with like red or something like that to untap like a red energy or whatever energy. So I'm a big fan of it. Next up, Bulma, Support of the Future. Auto, when you play this card, you may choose up to one Trunks Future with an energy cost 4 or less from your deck and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Overall, great utility card, because again, we actually have a couple of Trunks Future cards right now, and we have a little Trunks Future package that will kind of reveal with the promos. So you can get Slasher Trunks, you can get Implacable Trunks, you can get Trunks Light of Hope, and in the other Trunks that we saw earlier in a few seconds back. So this card being able to really make like a little mini Future Trunks engine, I think is going to offer awesome utility. I really like it with the starter deck Goku because you can untap. So if you have 2 of these, you can play both of them and search. Starter deck Goku is going to be really good with these 1-drops that really search and do all these cool things. I really like it because it adds another engine to the game where you can basically have a certain kind of deck, and then you might want the utility of the Future Trunks cards in your deck. So this Bulma really allows for that to happen. And again, really just to be able to search Implacable Trunks, I think is just awesome. A lot of people don't really play that card, even though that card probably is. But if you evolve it over a Future Trunks, you get to choose a card from your discard pile and add it to your hand. Now you're able to search it. So it really adds a lot of value and makes a lot of the Future Trunks stuff more cohesive. Plus the promo Trunks that comes in the tournament kit that says, I think if your battle card, if you have a Future Trunks battle card in the battle area or something like that, it costs 1 less. So, there's something going on there, and I can't wait for people and players to explore it. Next up, we have Beerus, Essence of Destruction. Has double strike. Auto, when you play this card, your opponent chooses a number of cards from their hand equal to the number of battle cards in their battle area with an energy cost 1 or less, and places those cards on top of their decks in any order. Then your opponent returns all the battle cards with an energy cost 1 or less to their hand. So it's a good way to get rid of like the floaters. That's what I like to call them. Basically cards that replace themselves and or free combo. So for example, Majin Buu, energy boosted Majin Buu, I would consider what I would call a floater, where you play it from your hand, so you lose a card, but then you draw a card, so you gain back the hand advantage, but you now have a free +5 combo body on the field that could potentially be used to evolve once you get like more boos and stuff, which we obviously will. So it's a good way to kind of disrupt your opponent's flow and tempo, but just them having a bunch of little weenies out like Bulma, Wiest, the Bulma that searches for a 4-drop Wiest, Majin Buu, the other Bulma that we just talked about that searches for Trunks, things like that. Next up, we have Wiest, the Sacred Guard. Blocker, permanent. This card cannot be KO'd by your opponent's card skills and does not leave the battle area due to skills. Amazing card all around. It really defines how blockers are gaining a lot more value this set than we had set 1. A lot of times blockers are just like, okay, block and it dies, even though you can combo to save it, which I don't know if people do know. But I like it because it's another Wiest target for Bulma God Tempter. It's going to be interesting to see how players decide to, if they're going to choose a ramp route in terms of, okay, I need to get my Wiest out at ramps first, or do I have this out for defense, or whatever the case may be. So it's really going to see people's lines of play as well as decision making in terms of how they're going to play this Wiest, because it's another target for that Bulma. And I like it because it can't be KO'd by opponent's card skills and does not leave the battle area due to card skills like Broly's effect. So it has to be killed by battle, which is awesome. And it's 20,000. So it's going to be a powerhouse card for sure, and definitely game defining because, or I should say meta defining, because of how big and beefy the power is for a 4-drop. So it really forces your opponent to combo over it, and then you can just play like another Bulma to search another one of these and just play it. So it's a good way to stall, especially if you're playing a Beerus deck. I think is auto 4 of. I think Beerus is going to get a lot better this set. Next up, we have Group Leader Pilaf. A counter battle card attack. Play this card, then choose one keyword skill of the attacking card and negate it for the duration of turn. The reason I really like this card is because I feel like it really disrupts tempo plays when your opponent tries to maybe trying to go for a game. So let's say you're 3 life and your opponent swings with like a 3-drop or something like that has triple strike. Sorry, not a 3-drop, but like a battle card that has triple strike. You can play the peel off and then choose their triple strike, and then it only deals 1 damage. So something that they were trying to go for a game with, now kind of, well, I wouldn't say hurt them, but the fact that They were probably hoping for a certain play or thinking about a certain play, and then you kind of disrupted that flow. So I think it's really cool to have this card in there, especially not just negating like double strike, triple strike, quad strike, other effects like other auto abilities and other things like that. I know there's some probably ruling that has to be clarified, but in terms of if the auto still happens, but in this case, I don't think so because it negates it. So you have to see how it kind of plays out. Next up is Shu. I guess Su. Basically, vanilla 2-drop for 15k. Nothing too special there. Moving on, we have My Supporter of Hope. Blocker, permanent. If your Trunks future is in your battle area or leader area, you may play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. Free blocker? Sign me up. Great stuff. Again, if your Trunks future is in your battle area or leader area. So again, even if you're not playing the Future Trunks leader and you're playing the whole Future Trunks engine package with like the Boma to search out Future Trunks and that Trunks to search out Goku or Vegeta, like there's something going on there. There's a lot of cool stuff. It's cool because now you have this card, which is a free blocker from your hand. So if you can kind of tap out intentionally to kind of bait your opponent to think like, okay, he's tapped out, I can kind of go for it. And then you play this blocker out of nowhere and it's like, oh, got me good. And they exhaust all their resources. And then you kind of go in for the counterattack and capitalize on that. So I think overall this card is very strong. If someone is playing Trunks Future, it's tricky because it says battle area or leader. If your opponent's playing, Future Trunks leader, you can probably expect this. If they're playing a battle card, it's kind of hard to kind of predict if they have this or if they're even playing it. They can probably just be playing it because they either like Trunks or like his effect for whatever reason. So it's really hard to telegraph if your opponent has this. So I guess you always have to assume the worst and assume that they do. But as the game progresses, there are going to be more cards that you always have to kind of predict. So it's going to be a little bit harder to kind of make the right reads. But I really like this card a lot just for the support. Next up, we have Power of Love Mai. It's 2-drop. It's a blocker. Nothing too crazy. But again, I like it just because it looks really cute. And who knows, because maybe we might even have some more future Trunks cards in the future that I might say if you have a Mai in the battle area, do have X effect or do X effect. So even though it doesn't seem like it's much, it is a character and an Earthling, and it does have value because we might have cards that say if you control an Earthling, all your Earthlings gain plus 2,000 power or something like that. So don't feel like every card is useless because it doesn't do anything. Next up, Courageous Heart Yajirobe, blocker and revenge. Perfect card to really change up the way your opponent has to play around it. And I love his stance. It's just so powerful and just like, he kind of fits that blocker look. He's just like, try and get through me. You won't. And he looks like such a boss. Like the artwork in this saga, in the set, series, or whatever you want to call it, is absolutely downright amazing. Top notch for sure. And I just love how it has revenge because now it gives blockers more value and being able to get something out of dying instead of just dying. So it's a good trade-off, good one-for-one trade-off. Next up, we have Tiny Heroes Haru and Makai, I think Makai. Auto, when you play this card, choose one of your other battle cards. It gains plus 1,000 power for each energy for the duration of the turn. Reason why I like this card personally too, I wouldn't play it as 4 of, but it's good if you're playing some kind of beatdown deck or some late game, as the game drags out and you're trying to go for game and you push. So, but it kind of chooses all your eggs in one basket. So I feel it's a good way to really try and maybe play around certain things or have your opponent worry about certain things. So you can maybe attack with something, play this card, boost something else and swing, or play this card first to boost it, knowing that your opponent has to worry about this big thing and attack with the other things first because they might be worried about the big thing that you boosted. So they're going to try and maybe take the damage from the smaller stuff or the smaller power stuff. And you might not even attack with the big thing, So it's a good way to kind of really play mind games with your opponent. Next up, we have Warrior of the Gods Goku Black. If Masu has a permanent ability, if Masu is in play in your battle area, this card cannot be KO'd by your opponent's card skills and does not leave the battle area due to skills. So it can still be KO'd by battle. So nothing really truly special, but it is a god, it's a Saiyan, so it's pretty cool. Next up, Zamasu, the Alert God. Evolve for 3 blue and 2 colorless over Zamasu. Indestructible auto when your opponent's card attacks. If your leader card is Zamasu or Goku Black, you may place 1 card from your hand in the drop area. If you do, negate the attack and negate the skill for the duration of the turn. So it's basically a good card to really break your opponent's attacking sequencing. So even though he negates his own effect, it's good that way because it would be pretty broken if he can simply just keep negating your opponent's attacks. So it's you just kind of have to time it right, and basically if you're standing on a field, seeing which card to negate, and then your opponent has to try and telegraph which card they think you might negate. And not only that, but you could also negate, and then you could just combo with it as well. So talk about defense. Next up, we have Zamasu the Invincible. Has indestructible and permanent. If your leader card is Masu or Goku Black, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand battle area by 1. Amazing card. I think it's really cool to see indestructible keyword on there on certain cards to really go with the whole God theme. I just hope that indestructible means even though it cannot leave the battle area, I'm thinking that it's just by KO and by card effects. But I wonder if you can bounce it, if you can put it on top of the deck, if you can place it into the drop area, if it would bypass that. So hopefully we'll see once we get a official ruling on that. But I like the ability just to be able to reduce its cost by 1, so making it 3-drop for 15, which is awesome. Next up, God of the Gods, Great Priest, double strike auto. When you play this card, if your leader card is God, choose any number of God in your battle area and add them to your energy area in rest mode. So obviously this is really good Beerus support because you can maybe build like a whole Beerus God engine and pretty much play this card and really ramp up to really get his ability and work things out. Again, you have to be careful in the sense that if your opponent can, I wouldn't say this card's obviously like broken by any means, but the fact that they have to pretty much have it in the battle area. So if you kind of prepare for it, you can blow it off or you can attack it and kill it. So that way this card kind of loses value. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think it's overall really good if you just have a bunch of Wiestes out and your opponent can't really get rid of them or does nothing to get rid of them. It can really speed up the game rampant wise and really help you get to that win condition for Beerus. Next up is Nano, the Plain God. Auto, when you play this card, negate all other battle card skills and choose all cards in both players' hands as well as other battle areas and return them to their decks. Shuffle both decks afterwards, then both players draw 5 cards. Cards stacked under the other cards are placed in the drop area. So it's a great card to really disrupt the hand. It could be using maybe some green, blue, Broly hybrid to really disrupt the hand and flow and pick off the hand with Broly's effect and whatnot. So I think it's pretty cool. Would it see play? Probably. I think there'll be some deck that would definitely utilize it to the best of its ability. Next up, Universe 10, Supreme Kai Gowasu. Auto, when you play this card, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, then choose up to 1 god among them and add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. I think this card is amazing for the utility and the versatility of basically the gods that you can play. So you can mix and match different things. So we have Champa, we have Vados, we have Piccolo, energy boosted Piccolo, the 10k draw card thing. We have obviously Beerus, Wiest, you name it. You can even search another of himself if you want. So I think it's Goku Black and Masu. So a bunch of different cards that this card can search out, and it's really going to be interesting to see how people are going to build their god decks, because now again we're seeing decks being put in certain categories of different archetypes in terms of god, having certain characters like Trunks Future, Goku, Vegeta, Goku Black, Masu, stuff like that. So I see now, even in set 2, already seeing decks shift away from being color orientated, now more towards character and certain development of that nature. Next up, Father Son Galagun, first extra card that we've seen right now from the new set. Activate main, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and return it to their hand. Cards that are stacked under it or placed in the drop area. So a good way to kind of just, it doesn't get rid of the problem permanently, but just, if you need to get rid of a block or something like that, you can bounce it, especially like that Wiest card. So it's really cool to be able to have some utility. I really love the artwork in this. This card just looks absolutely amazing. Bandai, if you're watching this, if you're listening, please, please, please make all the cards foil. Eventually I would love to see that, because this is definitely an indication of cards that would look amazing if they were foil. Another one is like a Raccoon's Eraser Gun. That would look amazing foil. So I would love to see some of the foil cards of the commons and uncommons in this game. But overall, this card is good for, getting rid of problematic cards. It's a good sideboard card as well. So if anything, probably like 2 in the main or 1 in the main and like 2 side, depending on the matchup. I love this card a lot. Next up is Mafuba or Mufasa or whatever you call it. Counter battle card attack. Negate the attack and place this card on the attacking card. At the end of your opponent's turn, place this card and only this card in the drop area. As long as this card is stacked on top of another card, that card is not treated as a battle card and its skill cannot be activated. First of all, I love the artwork, and again, another reason why I think all cards sort of eventually become foil, because that little swirly thing right there, I can see that being like a really cool foil pattern. And I love how the card is not treated as a battle card. My question is, what is it treated as? Is it just treated as an extra card? Is it treated as a blank? Like, how does that play into certain things? How does that interact with Broly when he on his awakened side? Things like that. So I'm really curious to see what the ruling is in terms of what it's treated as. If it's not treated as a battle card, obviously you can't combo or you can't attack, I would assume, because it's not a battle card. So I'm pretty interested to see what it will be. But I love how we've already seen really cool mechanics of cards being attached or placed under certain cards and things like that. I think that's really, really cool for interaction purposes as well. Good job. Next up, we have Time Ring. Activate main. Look at the top 10 cards of your top of your deck. Choose up to 1 Goku Black or Masu among them. If you have 4 more energy, choose 2 instead. Add the chosen cards to your hand. Shuffle your deck. So it's really cool to be able to utilize, searching out Goku Black or Zamasu and really having that engine going on. I think it's really good with the Goku Black leader, just because you can play this. You have 3 energy, and then you use this effect to go to 4, and then you play this, and you get search up for 2 Goku Black or 2 Zamasu, and if you have another one, you can search for 2 more. So you can search for basically add 4 cards for the cost of essentially 3 energy. So it's a lot of cool interaction there. So it's a good way to get the engine going and get what you need in the game. So I love it a lot. Next up, Trunks Time Machine. Activate main. If your leader card is Trunks Future, look at the top 10 cards from top of your deck. Choose up to 1 Son Goku or Vegeta or Future Trunks or Trunks Future among them and add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. Then if you have 4 more energy, choose 1 energy and switch to active mode. So good overall card. I love it how it searches, Trunks Future, so you can search that 3-drop. You can search, Goku, Vegeta, and doesn't specify color as well. So you can be creative, guys, once you get more cards in the card pool, red, yellow, eventually if we get a yellow Goku or a yellow Vegeta, Trunks Future, everything like that. So it offers a lot of utility and a lot of mix and matching with color, and more so that it's going to be based off characters. So as you can see, it's not about having a blue something. You need the blue energy to play it, but being able to now tailor your deck to really fit, Vegeta, Goku, and Trunks in there effectively and efficiently. So, and again, if you have 4 or more, you can choose 1 energy and switch to active mode. It doesn't specify which color energy, which is always awesome. Offers that utility. If you have a certain card in your hand, if you're playing like yellow, you can untap a yellow to play the Crusher Ball. So adds a lot of cool value to deck building, both color-wise and character-wise. Last but not least, we have Santo Button. Counter attack. Switch all your blue energy to active mode. So, card that everyone's been talking about. Oh my gosh, Zan, oh my G. The card's amazing. OP, blah, blah, blah. Don't get me wrong. I think the card's very, very good. At the same time, early game, I think it's horrible. There's a lot of limitations because you have to switch your blue energy. So if you're playing dual color, you're not really getting the most value out of it. And especially like if it's an early game, you're not going to use it for 1 energy. You might as well just use a Sensu Bean or Wiest Corrosion at that point. So this card doesn't stop the attack, which a lot of people think it does for some reason. It's a counter attack. So that means when I attack with either my leader or my battle card, you play it. Again, it's not and a lot of people also think that you can tap out your energy, attack with a battle card, play this card, switch everything back to active. No. Counter is always in response to your opponent. So if I counter attack, it's a response to my opponent attacking me. If counter play, it's a response to my opponent playing a battle card. So on and so forth. Counter is in response to my opponent playing a counter card. So people need to realize that I can't attack with one of my battle cards, play this card, switch everything to active. That being said, it's a very good defensive card. So when I attack, my opponent, let's say, plays this, switches everything to active, since it doesn't negate the attack, they still have to use cards to combo with anyway. So, like I said, it's not like it's broken by any means. I think it's really good. At the same time, I think it allows blue to play on the curve, meaning that they can play like a big drop creature and have this in your hand. But at the same time, let's say they're at 5 and they tap out, okay, to go to 5. You know, you can telegraph that they might have this, so you can just kind of play around it anyway. You know, you can play like maybe a card to get rid of it, or attack the card itself. And then if they play Santo Button to play cards to save it, that's fine. But then, you know, they're already wasting 2 cards for 1 attack because they have to play this card. It doesn't stop the attack. And then they have to, everything untaps, so their blue untaps. And then they have to still combo with 10Ks. Because if you combo with 5Ks, it doesn't matter because they don't cost energy to begin with. The only time it's useful is when you have combo with energy on the defensive. So I don't know, maybe I'm not seeing it. I like how cute it is because it's Zeno, and I love how Zeno is in the anime. They're very adorable. But like I said, this card is definitely really good defensively. It's just something that you have to kind of take into consideration, just like anything else. Every time I play, I always have to think what my opponent has in their hand, if they have the negates, if they have the 10Ks, how many 10K booster draw cards they have. It's just another card that they have to add, and you have to think about, oh, does my opponent have the Zeno button? Okay, how am I going to play around it? So I don't see it being that big of a deal, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, I think it's really good, obviously, in Vegeta because everything is considered every color energy. But outside of that, I guess we have to wait and see. Who knows? So I'm really looking forward to, you know, the set overall. I'm loving how blue is. It's not very splashable like it was in set 1 with Objection and Wiest and whatnot. Now we have things tailored to certain deck types in terms of certain characters. You know, if you have a god, if you have search for a Vegeta, search for a Future Trunks, search for a Goku, so you can't just splash it in any deck. You really have to now think about how you're going to build your deck because you want to make sure that it's tailored towards the specific characters or certain types in your deck. So overall, I'm really excited. Next week, we're going to have green and then yellow and then finally red. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the colors and especially the super rares and the special rares and eventually the secret rares. I'm really looking forward to seeing as well. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed it. And MrWaffles out.